It happens every single year, doesn't it? We hit late August, and this collective wave of anxiety just washes over marinas and coastal communities the second that dreaded cone of uncertainty pops up on the radar. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, I'm putting on my hard hat and stepping into my role as a professional marine surveyor to walk you through the absolute ultimate step-by-step storm survival checklist. If you're a new boat owner, you really need to pay close attention here. We're not just crossing our fingers and hoping for the best. We are literally engineering your vessel's survival.
Here's the master checklist we're going to work through today. We'll be covering 1. The reality of storms. 2. Avoiding the lift trap. 3. Rigging the spiderweb. 4. Defeating chafe and surge. 5. Insurance and evidence trails. And finally, number 6, the ultimate rule. Evacuate.
Let's dive right into Section 1, the reality of storms.
So there's actually a massive disconnect between what you see on the news and reality on the docks. High wind speeds get all the flashy headlines on TV, right? But wind is rarely what actually sinks a boat. The real boat killers, the sneaky details that literally leave vessels sitting at the bottom of the marina, are chafe gear failure, insufficient piling heights, and the absolute brute force of storm surge.
Which brings us to Phase 1 of our step-by-step checklist, securing the vessel's location. Look, before we even think about tying a single knot, we have to make a macro-level decision about where the boat is actually going to weather this storm.
That leads us to Section 2, avoiding the lift trap. Now, a lot of folks have this perceived sense of safety when they keep their boat high and dry on a mechanical lift. It feels secure, I get it. But the actual reality, boat lifts are massive mechanical liabilities during a hurricane. Think about it. If you accidentally leave the drain plug in, just 6 to 12 inches of heavy rain adds so much weight that it can physically collapse the lift machinery, no way around it. And on the flip side, if an immense storm surge rolls in and reaches the hull, your boat can just float completely off its bunks and grind directly into the lift motors or the pilings.
So, what if you decide to store your vessel ashore? Well, then windage becomes your primary enemy. One highly effective strategy ashore is literally digging holes into the dirt for sailboat keels to sit in. Sounds a bit extreme, but it lowers the boat's center of gravity right down to the ground, which drastically reduces its wind profile. Also, a quick warning. If your marina uses those high-rise steel racks, be careful. A lot of older steel racks might completely lack the structural support needed to actually withstand modern wind load standards.
Okay, assuming you're keeping the vessel in the water, we move to Phase 2, perfecting the lines and rigging. This is the micro level of our checklist, and honestly, it's where the real artistry of storm preparation comes into play.
Moving on to Section 3, rigging the spiderweb.
12. I want you to burn this number into your memory. If your boat is staying in its slip, it absolutely must be suspended dead in the center of that slip using a minimum of 12 lines. This is exactly how you create a true spiderweb. You see, you aren't just tying the boat to the dock, you're suspending it in a flexible matrix of tension that keeps it completely away from every hard surface.
And the materials you use for those 12 lines? They matter immensely. As marine surveyors, we specifically recommend 3-strand nylon. Why? Because it boasts a massive 40% stretch capacity. Plus, these lines should be double the length of your boat. Doing this dramatically lowers the angle of pull. When that 10 to 14-foot storm surge comes barreling in, your boat needs room to rise vertically. If your lines are too short or they don't have that 40% stretch, the tension will quite literally rip the metal cleats straight out of your fiberglass deck.
Let's look at Section 4, defeating chafe and surge.
All right, we need to address one of the deadliest and honestly cheapest myths in the boating world, using spare plumbing PVC tubing as a chafe guard. It seems like a super clever hack right up until a Category 3 storm hits. Here's the deal. Nylon lines generate intense internal friction and heat as they violently stretch and contract. PVC acts as a rigid insulator. It traps all that heat until the line literally melts from the inside out, creating what we call micro-welds. And then the line just snaps. The surveyor's alternative is to use polyester or Dacron sleeves. Polyester is incredibly abrasion resistant and, crucially, it allows that built-up heat to vent safely. You just lead the polyester sleeve through the chocks and join it to your shock-absorbing 3-strand nylon.
When we compare wind to storm surge, the most crucial takeaway is that while wind pressure quadruples when wind speed doubles, the surge is the primary destroyer. Surge completely submerges breakwaters and seawalls. It increases the fetch, which is the distance of open water, and it can turn a nice, protected, calm harbor into a raging open bay. So what's the mitigation? Piling height. You absolutely need 18-foot tall pilings. Because if the surge gets higher than the pilings, your entire floating dock, along with your perfectly webbed boat, will just lift right off the top and wash away.
Now, if the boat survives the physical storm, you still have to survive the financial aftermath. And that brings us to phase 3 of our checklist, administrative defenses. Believe me, this paperwork is every bit as critical as your nylon lines.
Section 5. Insurance and Evidence Trails.
You have got to know exactly what your insurance policy actually says. Does it state agreed value or actual cash value? This is huge. Agreed value pays out the settled amount you guys agreed upon when the policy was written. Actual cash value, though, that pays you a depreciated check that probably won't even come close to replacing your vessel. Also, definitely check your policy for named storm haul-out coverage. A lot of policies will actually reimburse you up to 50% of the cost, usually capped around $1,000, just to get your boat out of the water before a NOAA named storm hits.
If things go south and you have to make a claim, you need an absolutely airtight legal defense. So, here is your due diligence evidence trail. You need pre-storm photos of the hull, the deck, and the interior. You need crystal clear shots of your serial numbers and your registration. Keep a really strict inventory of your electronics and save the receipts for any upgrades. Oh, and remember this. If you do sustain damage, an estimate from a licensed marine surveyor carries significantly more weight with an insurance adjuster than a basic quote from a local repair shop.
Before you finally walk away from the docks, you have to take what we in the biz call the final shot. This is a wide photograph of your vessel fully rigged in its storm configuration. It needs to clearly show your 12 lines, your chafe gear, your stripped canvas, the whole shebang. This photo is your ultimate legal proof that you actually took reasonable safeguarding measures to protect the insured property.
Okay, so we've secured the location, we've rigged the web perfectly, and we've prepped the paperwork. That brings us to our final, absolutely non-negotiable phase of the checklist. Phase 4, human life.
Section 6. The ultimate rule. Evacuate.
Look, I don't care how perfectly you've rigged your spider web, you must never, ever stay aboard your vessel during a hurricane. In 100-mile-per-hour winds, visibility is effectively zero. You aren't going to be able to see to adjust a line or fend off flying debris anyway. Furthermore, what you might think is a safe, sheltered hurricane hole can turn on a dime and experience massive, unpredictable, totally life-threatening seas because of the surge and fetch. Deciding to stay aboard and ride it out is a fatal error. Period.
This whole philosophy is pretty beautifully captured by a quote from Admiral Chester W. Nimitz. He said, "Safety measures should be taken while it is still possible to do so, as nothing is more dangerous than being grudging with precautions." It's so true. Real preparation happens in the off-season. Checking your cleats, making sure they actually have backing plates, pushing to upgrade your marina's piling heights, that is exactly how you avoid being grudging when the wind finally starts howling. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to take a hard look at your own preparations, long before that cone of uncertainty ever makes an appearance on your local weather broadcast. Ask yourself this one provocative question. Is your vessel truly a spider in a web, suspended safely and securely? Or is it just a massive liability waiting for the next storm to hit? Print out this surveyor's checklist, do the hard work now, and please, stay safe out there.